Hello and welcome. Today's guest started life working for the most prestigious financial firms out there, JP Morgan, and she walked away from that, what would be a lot of people's dream job, to focus on things that mattered more to her, like autonomy, being her own boss, and focusing on a subject that she was more passionate about. So she moved into the health, fitness, and nutrition space with a bit of a focus on hormones as well. But Desi describes herself as more of a life coach. And when she said it, she was half joking. But actually, from the way that this conversation went, I fully see that because what I planned to be the subjects of health, fitness, nutrition, and so on, it took a bit of a different turn. We ended up having a really deep conversation about life, mental health, and other things as well. And you'll see that she's an incredible listener and asks amazing questions and is very knowledgeable in what she does as well. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. And if you want to keep up with Desi and what she's doing, the links will be in the show notes below. And I seem to be making a bit of a habit of this, but there were some technical issues with the audio in this one as well with the microphones. I do have an amazing audio editor and he's done what he can with the camera audio. But yeah, I need to get a technician or something to manage this stuff for me because it's clearly not my strong point. But anyway, thank you for your patience with me on that front, and I really hope you enjoy this episode.
So, Desi, thank you so much for coming on. You are I'm the term influencer in the fitness space and around nutrition and hormones, which is something that I find very interesting as well. So I wanted to pick your brains. Tell me about your journey, where you started with fitness, and how you ended up doing what you're doing.
Right, thank you for having me. I guess my fitness journey started a very long time ago, almost 10 years ago. I didn't take fitness properly, and I didn't take it seriously for a while. And then it got to a point where I think everyone goes to sort of lows and highs and lows. So for me, a low point was around about craving strength, where a lot kind of happened personally. That made me and pushed me to really start something new. And to be honest, as cliche as it sounds, it's probably the worst thing that happened to me. From there, really, I rediscovered, I used to be the sort of person that would hate running, that I didn't really have a good understanding of nutrition, etc. That very quickly changed. I started, most importantly than anything, I started to feel better. It was never about how I needed to look. It was more about how it made me feel. So to this day now, I say to clients that if they find their why, if there's why is strong enough and it's about a reason deeper than their physical change and transformation, then that will probably last forever, which is exactly what happened to me. And I'm super grateful. I love it, really, really enjoy it. So fitness for me now is something that I do daily. Obviously, I'm an online coach as well. It's been a journey.
I have said that exactly before because I've had friends ask me to train them. And the question is always, why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
If the answer is, I just want to be if your gene size is smaller, that's not going to be enough to keep you going because that's going to motivate you to a certain point, and then you're just going to let everything slip and slide again, right? Or for me, it would be I have friends that say I just want to get fit for my holiday in Ibiza or whatever else, and that's fine, but there's no longevity in that.
Yeah.
And you can train, like, it's up to you what you do, and if you just want to look good for 1 week of the year on holiday, then you can. But when someone says, I'm not feeling great, I just want to change how I feel, I want to have more energy, I want to be prouder of myself, then they're the kind of reasons why they're like, okay, you're someone that could stick at this.
Yeah.
Because it can be addictive when you realize that it's doing all of the things that you set out to do. When you feel better, you're more confident, you have more energy, then it's hard to stop doing it. And then when you do stop doing it, you have a week off or 2 weeks off, you feel it, right? You feel worse for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's exactly that. It's an identity shift. And a lot of people start from, I'm not a runner, or I'm not really good at exercise. And you have to start somewhere. It is going to be a journey. And as I said, you just need to dig a little bit deeper to find that reason. And it cannot be, I have a holiday and I need to look good. Exactly. So I think which is why on my any consultation call that I take, I always ask why. And it's never the first answer, even the second answer that I take, is always like I keep digging deeper and deeper. And then I kind of have an understanding of whether we can actually work together and what that transformation would look like. But yeah, I think it is a lifestyle change, 100%. And I love to see the transformation in terms of when somebody starts and they're a bit unsure whether they could do it. And then they're a couple of weeks into it, and then they start to notice a difference. And this is where the confidence changes. This is where they just become a different person. And that's exactly what happened to me. I feel like fitness unlocked so many different levels in terms of my personal growth and of what I was able to achieve and to witness in terms of not only physical transformation, but the mindset. I think that's been a personal win for me. Because with fitness, I've managed to do so many different things. I managed to quit my corporate job at JP Morgan. I managed to go on travel and be a digital nomad. I managed to really kind of create that self-belief through action.
Talk me through that. Putting JP Morgan, right, one of the most prestigious companies in the world that lots of finance pros brag about working for.
Yeah.
What
that was definitely me.
Yeah.
I'm the sort of person, when I decide to do something, I'm going to find a way to do it. And with JP Morgan, it was very much something that I said to myself, this is what's going to happen, this is what I'll achieve. So I applied a lot. I applied again and again and again. I got rejected multiple times and finally got in. That was during COVID, when COVID was just starting. And I thought I made it. It was amazing. I was in the UK, everything was great. Very prestigious, amazing people, but it wasn't my thing. It really wasn't. And I kind of asked myself that question of, can I continue to do this? And how long of my life can I dedicate to this? And I was about 2 years in, 2.5 years in, where I just realized it's not going to be the sort of thing that I could do for the next 10 or 20 years. And I've had examples around me. I had people that I really admire. An executive director at JP Morgan that I thought was absolutely brilliant in terms of how he was. And as much as I loved his success and everything that he's achieved, I just couldn't see myself being that person and doing that. So, yeah.
You need to have that long-term reason why for yourself, right? It's not just in fitness. You need it in a career.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to feel like every day it's just a slog and you're not heading in any direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I just remember going into the office, sorry to interrupt, but I just remember going into the office and thinking like, I can't believe how people do this Monday to Friday. Because with COVID, the ease of my escape was always fitness. I was working a long hours. I didn't mind it. I love being busy. I like being busy, but it wasn't something that I was actually, oh no, that does used to me.
For those just listening on audio instead of watching on video, I don't even know what that is. Some hornet black thing that's just flying around my leg, but
oh no, oh please go away.
Uninvited podcast guest. It's the joys of doing podcasts in the jungle. So yeah, you were saying you just didn't align with that. You didn't see yourself doing it.
No, not really, sadly.
Did you know what it was that you wanted to do?
I always had an example from my parents that you need to turn your hobby into your profession and your work. Interesting. Yeah. So for me, I actually found something that I'm really passionate about, genuinely passionate about. And I was very surprised. I never thought it was going to be fitness. I was never really the gym girl. I was quite, people probably see my transformation, but I was a chubby kid when I was growing up. I was a chubby ballerina. I remember it was quite funny. All the little, obviously Bulgarian girls are quite small and petite. And I just remember being a little bit bigger than the other girls. But I've always been into sports. I've been a ballerina for 4 years, been into traditional Bulgarian dancing for a couple of years. And then fitness kind of found me. And I was very surprised when it happened. And I was genuinely surprised that this is going to be the sort of thing that I'm going to stick around with it. It's funny how these things happen. But yeah, back to what I was saying, my parents were an example of, they've never really worked in a full job, but they've really done the 9 to 5. And most importantly than that, the example was you have to find your passion and reach it.
Interesting. I'm usually an advocate for the opposite.
Right.
in the sense of don't turn your passion or turn your hobby into your career, rather, because I find that it's a very quick way to stop it becoming a hobby. And
Interesting.
yeah, I have examples in my own life of people where they've done that and have fallen out of love with it. A couple of my best friends are PTs and used to love training, and now it's just, it's an extra hour of work. It's like a chef comes home from work, and then if they have to cook dinner for the family as well, it could be quite painful. But there are definitely examples. And if you're in a career where you're unhappy, having something that you're passionate about that you could go and work towards instead, I think is a great motivator to go and do it. Because the hardest thing is not that feeling like you have pent up energy and you're ready to run in a certain direction, you don't know which direction to go in.
So true. I agree. So true. So to be honest, yeah, it's an interesting point that you just said, because I remember the first year when COVID first hit, I had a solid routine. I was waking up every single morning at 5 a.m., was going for a run. I was journaling, meditating, reading self-development books, and I was doing a lot of fitness, probably the most fitness I've done consistently in my life. And I remember not stopping myself and turning it into an actual work or professional job, because I was thinking it's going to take the fun out of it and I'm going to stop, and I don't want to. And even with my kind of socials and everything, I was just doing it for fun to begin with. And it got to a point where I just thought, do you know what? Might as well just look like that.
Good on
Thank you.
It's clearly going well.
Thank you. I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
If we were where we wanted to be, we would just want to be somewhere else. We always, not even just the grass is greener, but we always need to have a place in life that we're working towards, we're getting to. Same as the career things, your fitness goals. And I don't know, it's one thing I keep telling myself at the moment. It's my business example where I want it to be. But I know that I will look back on this period, starting my 30s, having to put in some serious legwork and elbow grease into getting them working, and knowing where I want to be and not being there. And I know I'm going to look back on this period and want to be back here again. You just got to trust the process that could go in to get to where you want to be, and try and stop and enjoy the journey, because that's the hardest thing, right? And this will apply in fitness. We tell ourselves we're not worthy of being happy with where we are right now. I do that all the time.
Same.
If I try and be grateful, I try and stop myself from being a little bit harsh with myself on how hard I'm making myself work, something. I think, when I've just got this level of income, I'll be happy. But will you? We have already achieved goals that we said we made us happy. Really. And yeah, whether your goal is fitness, whether it's financially in business, I don't think there's ever a valid excuse not to stop and enjoy the process.
I agree. I think we're at the right place. I think Bali is the right place for this. To find balance. But yes, it's a difficult one. I find it very hard myself to find that balance of, do you push yourself hard because you're not where you want to be? And how do you find the balance in between? Have you found the secret sauce?
No.
No.
I actually did a solo podcast on this recently where I realized that my internal monologue, the way that I spoke to myself, wasn't healthy. I realized that I was too hard on myself. I always told myself that I needed that because it was what drove me forward and what was going to make me successful.
Yeah.
And when I finally accepted and acknowledged this, I then didn't do any work for the best part of 4 weeks. So it's definitely finding that balance, right? Can I have a taskmaster that drives myself in a healthy way? And yeah, I don't think there is an answer for anyone on this one. I wish there was, because Lord knows I need it as well. But I think you just have to keep working at it and keep improving. Again, I don't think it's a destination. And to be a bit cheesy, I called this podcast Growth Game because I don't think it's a destination I'll ever be happy with. And it's about stopping and just enjoying the journey, which never stops.
What is growth for you? What does it represent? What does it represent?
I think if I go 3 Ys down, right, Because if I say, what does it represent? It represents moving forward. Why is moving forward important? Because I'm not moving backward or staying still. Why is that important? Because then I would feel miserable. If I feel like I'm going backwards, if I'm earning less now than I was last year, I'll feel worse. If I'm fatter now than I was last year, I'll feel worse. If I've lost more muscle, I'll feel worse. There's an adage, which is there are 3 men on a ladder. One of them is at the top, one of them is in the middle, and one of them's at the bottom. Which one do you want to be? And the answer is the one that's still climbing.
Yeah, I love that.
Exactly.
It's the first time I hear that. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know who I've stolen that from. But yeah, that's what it's about for me, is that if it's the opposite, which is stagnation or reversing, I know that I would be unhappy. So the only option to make me happy is to keep moving forward and accepting that I will never be where I want to be because the goalposts are always moving. I'm trying to be happy with this life that I've created, constantly trying to be better every day, week, month, year.
The pursuit of happiness, right? I keep saying this. My mission is to be 1% better every single day. To keep pushing, because I know that there's so much potential and there's so many things. There's things that keep me up at night because I haven't done them yet. Which worries me at the same time, because enough is never enough. And this is what we talked about balance a little bit, is when you want to be better, I think that there's something so amazing about it. But at the same time, it is the opposite effect of, do you feel enough now? How much does growth really mean to you? When can you take it to? And when can you actually stop? I think.
Yeah, I don't think you can stop. I don't know, maybe when you reach the retirement home and then you feel like, okay, I don't need to be better anymore. And I think at that point, you have to be comfortable with the fact you're not going to be, right? Because your body is naturally going to decline at that stage. So then maybe it's about slowing the descent rather than going forward. And that tipping point will be different for everyone in each of their lives. But another adage I love is, too many people think life is about the pursuit of happiness, but it's a moving target we'll never catch. And if you want to be happy, life has to be about the happiness of pursuit instead. And yeah, I think that's just something that I've really bought into in every sense, and something I try and embody in all aspects.
How do you deal with distractions? So when you are pursuing, when you are working towards something that's very clearly important for you?
I love that. The opposite of distraction, too many people think it's focus, right? Whereas the opposite of distraction is traction. So it's anything that is leading you forward towards where you want to be. And there are so many things that are distractions, but are healthy, right? Like playing paddle with my friends. I don't want to be a professional paddle player. I don't care about getting any better, but for me, it's important to have that in my life. So you love paddle?
I love paddle, yeah.
So good. It's taking the world by storm. So I think it's important to plan for things that are distractions. And if you've planned for them, then they're not a distraction anymore. So then how do I deal with things that crop up that are taking away my focus involuntarily? I still am working on that one. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned from people much smarter than me is that you need to put preventions in place to stop your willpower having to make the decision for you. Your willpower is only going to get you so far. If you keep testing it, it's going to falter at points. For example, I've been really happy here because every morning that I've woken up, I've not been touching my phone. I've been doing my teeth, splashing water on my face. I've been sitting outside with the dog who you just met, Nana, for half an hour without any distractions, nothing in my ears. And I get the chance to be present and let my brain warm up. And I've never been able to do that before. And the reason I'm able to do it now is I don't keep my phone on my bedside table anymore, because I know if I had my phone on my bedside table, the second my eyes open, that's going to be what I reach for.
Yeah.
And I'll reach for it. At first, I'll tell myself I'm just going to check my notifications, make sure there's no emergencies. When there's no emergencies, pull hold on, I've been on Instagram scrolling half an hour, I've fried all my dopamine receptors and I have no energy to go about the rest of my day. So you have to make these decisions the day before. So now that's what I do. I have my phone not on my bedside table. I have that routine. I then come back in and check my notifications and make sure the world's not burning down, because nothing is that serious that needs to be dealt with the second you wake up. It can't be dealt with 45 minutes later.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't know when you wake up, and they'll give you the benefit of the doubt if there's an extra 45 minutes on the clock, which only you're keeping track of. So I think that's it. And just keeping them at bay. For example, I have a massive sweet tooth, and I will eat every bit of shit that's available if it's in the house. So the planning has to be done in the days before to ensure that it's not in the house. And so, yeah, that's what I would say to everyone who is working on their own distractions. Make steps in the days or weeks before, because if you just leave it up to your willpower, it's going to be a harder battle and one that you're not going to win a lot of the time. What about you?
How do I do distractions? I say no to a lot of things. And I think maybe I've always been people. I've said a lot of no's, especially coming in Bali, and the past couple of months were very, very busy for me. And you just have to be okay. And sometimes as bad as it sounds, I don't even feel bad of skipping dinner with friends. And I just know that I have to do that work. I need to take that call. I need to do things that matter to me. And you need to ask yourself, what's the priority here? And what is going to happen if you keep saying yes to the wrong things, things that don't align with it, not necessarily wrong, because of course you want to spend time with your friends, of course you want to have fun. But what I recommend is I wrote a non-negotiable list every single day. And how I see it is, if I chip away every single thing of that list, it's going to move me forward in X amount of time, 3 months, 6 months. And if by the end of the day, I don't have a TikTok for whatever reason, then I know that thing is going to be lagging and I'm slacking, which is essentially, let's say if it's training and if I skip 3 or 4 days, I know that my figure in X amount of time to probably where I want to be on my weight on the scale is not going to show. So I guess you just have to ask yourself what is important for you and have a goal in mind. I think a lot of people don't necessarily don't know what they want, which I find interesting, because I think it's very important to know what you want. Because how else would you go through life? Otherwise, you'd just be catching one wave to another and not really knowing. Yeah. But I guess distractions, you have to just be good at filtering through what matters so that it doesn't, as harsh as it sounds.
Yeah, 2 things that we addressed in there. The first was priority, and the second was, not noticing if you skip a day at the gym, but over the long term, exactly, it's the compound effect. No one will know if you skip a day at the gym.
Yeah.
Most people won't know if you don't brush your teeth in the morning, but if you don't brush your teeth in the morning for a week, people are going to start to realize if it's going to be the same with gym, and you've got to hold yourself accountable to those things. And I think priority is such a big one. Like people say, how do you still have time to do all this fitness and exercise? Well, because despite everything, that's still my number one priority. There are days when work will take over and become the priority. But if I'm looking at my life as a whole, my number one priority is keeping fit, staying fit and healthy. My second priority then is my business. And for other people, they can have different priority lists. But if your fitness and your working out your health is below the priority list of your sleep, your breakfast, your early morning ritual, whatever it is, you're going to end up missing out on it so many times.
Yeah.
And it has to become the number one priority. And some days you're going to have to work out tired.
Yeah.
Some days you're going to have to work out without having time to have a big breakfast before.
Yeah. Discipline versus motivation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Really, that's spot on. Yeah. It's just what is most important to you about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. I think that there's, you open so many different loops. I think it's the best way to describe it from Atomic Habits. A really good book. I love this book so much. And you open so many different loops when you say to yourself, I'm going to do this. and then you don't end up doing it. And then this is where I think you really knock yourself down with confidence, because you want to be that person. You want to get up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, work out, choose the healthy options. But then you end up not doing it. So then you end up resenting yourself and hating yourself for it, which is horrible. And I've been there. I've been feeling that way for a while, and it's not a nice feeling.
No, you lose trust in yourself.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Is we all trust ourselves to varying degrees. And if you think back to the first time that you said that you were going to do something,
Yeah.
like how convicted you were that you were going to do it. I remember when I was a kid and I told my parents I was going to start eating 5 apples a day and doing 100 sit-ups a day. And I believed it so much. Obviously that didn't last for a lot, right? Whatever, life put in the way. And then the next time I make a promise to myself and I say, okay, I'm going to do this, I believe myself a little bit less. And that's compounding. Every time that you don't keep your word to yourself, you will trust yourself less and you'll stop taking yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself every January, okay, I'm going to do dry January and I'm going to lose the weight, and you don't do it 3 years in a row, when you say it the 4th year, you're kind of laughing at yourself as you say it, right? Like, well, I'm going to try and do it. But
Yeah.
if you do it the other way, where every January you do dry January and you smash your fitness and your health, when the 4th year comes along, it's not like, oh, I'm going to do this. It's like, I do this. This is who I am, and I make this a part of me.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy has this amazing line, which is, we build self-belief not by saying affirmations in the mirror, but by
Stacking up action.
exactly by building an undeniable stack of evidence that we are who we say we are.
Yeah.
And so in those early days, if you're taking someone on their fitness journey and they think, oh, what's the harm in missing one day? It's a lot.
Yeah.
Because it might not look like a lot this week, but you're then going to lose trust that you're sticking to it next week. And then when you skip 2 weeks in a row,
Yeah.
the snowball.
This is why we do daily check-ins with my clients. And this is why lots of other online coaches don't necessarily do that, because it's a lot of extra work, especially on obviously my part, our part. But I think that I believe in that, because at the beginning, you do need that extra bit of accountability and support, because you're not there yet. And for whatever reason, if you end up getting a coach, that's because somewhere between alongside your journey, you failed. So you need somebody to hold you accountable, because a lot of my clients come to me and they say, oh, I know what I need to do, but I'm not doing it. So it's a lot of motivation versus discipline. It's a lot of self-belief versus your identity shift. So I really believe in that support and accountability at the beginning, where I do check in with them daily. I give myself Saturday off, but rather than that, any other day, we check in. And it's that kind of stacking up, the compound effect that we were talking about, where that at the beginning, it's almost like a little child that you check in on them and make sure that everything is okay. And then let's say 2 months into it, whatever it might be, they're there. And that they can count on themselves now and they'll pick themselves up and they feel better. But yeah, I do think that there's a sense of accountability and support in coaching. I can't remember why I started talking about this now.
No, you were spot on. It was about holding yourself accountable and
yourself.
also using external sources, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to do as well. And I think if you're just starting out, you said something earlier, people say, I'm not a runner.
Mm-hmm.
No one is anything until they start doing it.
Yeah.
And it's only once you take the plunge, like no one knows what they're doing when they just start out. Everyone walks in there clueless.
Yeah.
And that can be the biggest hurdle, right? The biggest mental block is, I don't know what I'm doing. And I know from my own personal work ethic, that's something that I pinned this year. That is the biggest obstacle to me getting work done, and the biggest cause of my procrastination is when I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, same.
My brain will then be like, okay, overload, shut down, retract, go distract yourself.
Just because it's new, just because it's a new territory, just because it's unfamiliar, you'll find so much different excuses to tell yourself that you can't do it or you're not going to do it. The reality, sometimes it takes 10 minutes. Let's say a HIIT workout is 15 minutes. You could do it for one, doesn't matter why at all. And then you end up doing it and you feel like, wow, I feel so better now. Tick.
How do you help people get started when they've got zero experience?
This question. I just try to be as present as I can be. In terms of just support. When from the moment you get onboarded, you just try to explain as much as I can. I try to do everything gradually. I don't want to overwhelm them. So we get through stages of signing up, onboarding. You get 5 days of onboarding emails, and then it goes through getting sign up on my app now, which I recently launched. Actually, I haven't announced it yet. But yeah, so you sign up on that via the app, and then everything is kind of there for you. So we slowly start habit stacking. So every single day will be X amount of steps, water, sleep. Then we add exercise to it. Then we add a meal plan, calories, and etc. So it doesn't feel like this overwhelming sense of, wow, I can't do this.
Gradual build up.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it just the exercise and the foods that you focus on, or are there any other things that you take into account?
No, I feel like I'm a life coach
Yeah.
70% of the time. Yeah, we do, which is amazing because I love building relationships with people. I feel like I'm good with that. So yeah, it's a lot of different things. Obviously, we need to take into account that life happens. There's going to be a lot of things that happen, and especially as women, we're so emotional. There's going to be days when you feel, you have low self-confidence, you don't feel like you could do this, etc. So yeah, I do feel like a lot of mindset and motivation as well is what's being provided with coaching, not just a meal plan and exercise workout routine.
That makes sense. Do most of your clients work with you remotely?
Yes, I'm fully 100% online, just because of how much I move around and travel. Yeah. And I do genuinely think that they get more support and accountability online, because I come from a place where I originally started my journey with a personal trainer, and the difference is huge. You can't really compare one to the other, just because when you do train with somebody face to face, you go into the gym, you do your hour session and you walk out, and that is it. Whereas with online coaching, you get so much more. We check in every single day, which you wouldn't normally do with a personal trainer. You get, so via the app that I'm using, you get an insight against everything. So you can track your progress on a daily basis. You get all new habits. With my clients as well, female clients, we add on me time, which could be journaling, meditating. It could be yoga, stretching. There's so much extra than just doing a workout. And I get it. Some people want to have that face-to-face, in-person support, but I do think that that's a bit outdated nowadays.
No, I agree. And I think it's limited. If someone is just checking in the community at the gym, then there's restrictions on how much they can affect the picture as well.
Right? Yeah.
How do you deal with people that don't have the right reason why, but they come to you and they ask for help anyway?
This is a tough one because usually it's not the best transformation. And you can, as harsh as it sounds, sometimes you really have to hit that low point for you to realize that whatever it is that you're doing is not working. And I really wish, I think George Spencer talks about it, it's like we can change from a place of negativity and heartbreak and etc. You can change from a place where you just genuinely want to feel better. Unfortunately, I think for a lot of people, it comes down to I'm really hit a low point. I'm getting divorced. I've stopped having sex because I don't feel comfortable in my body. I can't walk up the hill with my friends and I'm out of breath. Yeah, etc. etc.
I've used that in my life as well, but sometimes you need to hit rock bottom to bounce.
Yes. Nice example.
Yeah. And I sometimes feel like rock bottom is coming in a certain place, and I tell myself, I'll probably hit the bottom soon enough. So I almost weaponized it the other way as an excuse to hold up a little bit. But no, I definitely think that's true. I can look back on points in my life where things had to reach a certain point where I looked in the mirror and I was like, okay, this is this is not good. And you need to feel that desire to work with you. And the thing is, when you do implement something like fitness into your life full time, that desire then comes. It's the same as a job, right? For most people, they don't have their passion and then they make a career out of it. For most people, it comes the other way. They fall into something through any means, and then the passion builds over time as they specialize down. And I think it's the same with fitness. No one who's never stepped foot in a gym wakes up in the morning and thinks, yeah, I want to go lift weights. It just doesn't work that way around. But people say to me like, oh, how do you find motivation to go 4 or 5 times a week? I'm like, you should see when I don't.
Yeah.
It's the opposite now. My body works with me and gets me to go. And there are exceptions to this. There are. But as there'll be exceptions in any career, right? Even if you love your job, some days you're just not going to want to go to work. But for the most part, you build those habits, your body will thank you for it and work with you over time.
Yeah. What I keep saying to my clients is, if you book a meeting with a friend, and if you, no, let's try this again. If you book a meeting and you schedule a meeting and they, why can I not get my word? If you decide to meet up with a friend and for whatever reason, oh no, I think this will happen.
It's all good. We can cut this.
I keep saying to my clients, if you arrange a meeting with a friend, you will turn up because you made a commitment someday. But more often than not, when you make that commitment to yourself, or you say, I'm going to go and exercise, and there's no one else on the other side but yourself, you end up not showing up. And yeah, I think that's so unfair.
Something I heard fairly recently was the expression, every version of yourself deserves love. Now, I wasn't reading into that in the sense of, oh, there are parts of me that I need to love. The thing that I picked up on from that was that every version of yourself. And I think that's so true. We think of ourselves as one person. I am Tom. I have a podcast. I go to the gym. But in reality, how many different parts to you are there? How different are you when you're with one group of friends versus with another group of friends based on the combined mutual interests or, you know, the topics, the people that you're around and so on. And we made promises thinking of future Tom as a different person, right? I think I'll just kick it down the road and the future version of me will be able to do it. But we overestimate our desire to do the hard work in the future. And if we don't want to do it now, we're probably not going to want to do it in the future either. And it is about just starting with those commitments of turning up to those meetings when you say you were going to, because that's how you get the future version of you to start doing the same thing. You have to start making the change now.
Yeah. I'm reading this book on Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday. I don't know if you've heard of.
I know Ryan Holiday. He does quite a bit on stoicism, but I haven't read up this stuff.
Amazing. Highly recommend it. And it talks exactly about that. So it gives you examples from very strong leaders from history and how committed they were to what they're doing and how it might seem impossible, frustrating, difficult. But this is where discipline versus motivation again comes in, where you just do it regardless. I love this. I don't know if you've seen this for Cristiano Ronaldo, where there's a video of him saying, here, I'll give you the roadmap. This is what I do every single day. Would you do it? No, very, very little people actually commit. And this is the difficult part, right? Because again, and I think it is more difficult maybe for women than it is for men, because we are very emotional. And again, we can touch on hormones in a bit and talk about the difference here. But I think that for women, we're very easily influenced depending on how we're feeling, what emotions, what is going on in your body, how our hormones affecting us. I guess it's not fair for me to say this, but I guess with men it's a little bit more right. We're putting our head down, getting this done, regardless of being able to be emotional from that side of it. Do you agree with it? Or do you feel like it's a bit?
I do I agree with it? I actually think that it's a common thing for people to say that women are more emotional than men.
Yeah.
Now, there may be scientific studies to back this up, so I might be about to talk complete nonsense, but I feel like we just have different emotional spectrums. And for example, men tend to get angry more than women do, whereas women tend to get more upset than men do. But anger is an emotion, the same as being upset is an emotion. And yeah, I don't know. I am actually making a point to go and do some research to find out if women are scientifically more emotional than men after this podcast. That's my
Please let me know.
that is
Keep me updated.
that is my homework to do. One thing that I do know is scientifically proven is that as women go through the menstrual cycle, the hormones in their body changes, and that cause more variations in their mood. So yeah, perhaps that is the science behind that one. But I think even as a man, there are days when you just don't want to wake up, and there can be some good parts about telling yourself that, no, I'm a man, I'm going to rock it, I'm going to get it done. But then I've also been down that road too far where it's pushed me to rock bottom, as we were talking about earlier. Like last year, I quit my job, was getting my visa cancelled. So I had to then leave the country. My apartment I was tied into for another 4 months, and I got absolutely screwed through that. I ended up getting screwed by the tax authorities because of the time that I was in the country versus out when my appointment got terminated. My nan had health issues. I was trying to build a course, a podcast, move all my clients over to the new place, starting another side business as well. And I look back on it now, I'm like, no wonder I was struggling, right? With all of that going on. Okay, that's a lot. But at the time, I kept telling myself that narrative. I was like, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm a man. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And then I got back to my mom's house in Cornwall. I got back to visit her for a couple of months, and I just collapsed. Like, I was just dead to the world. I couldn't post on social media anymore because I felt like I wanted to be a voice of positivity, and I was just so negative about everything and I didn't want to be disingenuous either and post something that wasn't how I was really feeling. So I just didn't post anything for a couple of months. And when I eventually did post, people were like, hey, like, what the hell happened? So I did like sort of an update on that. And it's interesting. It was actually, I look back on that as a really good period because I think it taught me a lot about myself. But it does then make me hesitant to then support this idea that if you're a man, you just get your head down and do it. Because I got myself semi-cancelled fairly recently for sharing something about young white men and their political gravitation, how they're moving right, and what one of the reasons for that might be. And I shared it as, someone on the fence or on the side of, society as a whole. And word for word, I was getting messages like, straight white men are the most privileged group in history. They don't deserve anyone to feel sorry for them. And yeah, I just think it's so unhealthy. Like, I'm not disputing the fact that, sure, you probably scientifically proved that they are historically the most privileged group in society. But if you take that stance and tell them they deserve no sympathy for anything based on their gender, their sexuality, and their race, that's a slippery slope. And everyone was sharing it recently, this men's mental health stuff, like support men. We do Movember to raise awareness for the fact that men's suicide rates are 4 times the height of women's, and as many young men kill themselves as women die to breast cancer. Like, it is a huge problem. And I think a massive part of this is men feeling like they should just not feel their problems. They should just keep their head down and go. And society also thinks we don't give a shit about your problems because of your skin color, gender, and sexuality. But I've gone on a complete digressive rant there, so I apologize for derailing the podcast.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
there's an amazing community, just to touch on what you said, there's an amazing community here in Valley Brotherhood, for anyone watching that is in Bali. And they gather every Saturday. There was somebody from the UK, actually, a guy that I know that leads it. and they talk about their feelings, emotions. The way that they structure it is amazing. You just, obviously, they're not really allowed to talk about what happens and what is being shared, but you just sit down and you talk for 5 minutes, everyone listens, you gather in smaller groups. And it's fairly recent. It's been 2 or 3 months of them doing actually. It started with 10 people, now it's up to 70. And it's grown. They've had to actually find a bigger venue to do it. Ryan, shout out to Ryan, who is doing an amazing job. I think it's such a beautiful idea of just gathering men only, specifically, and just sitting them down and getting them to open up about their emotions. Because it's funny, like men do that, but in relationships, they do that to maybe to their girlfriends, to their moms, to women, because they feel it's a safe space for them to open up and talk about emotions. Not so much to other men.
It's true. And could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah,
That's
we're
what-
going in a different direction. But
Didn't want to bring you on to grill your men's mental health, but you'll have to introduce me to Ryan.
I will.
It sounds like you'd be an interesting person to speak to.
I think you enjoy it.
Yeah, I think men and women do handle it very differently. And there's this project in New Zealand called The Shed. I don't know if you've heard of it. So the idea of men sitting around and talking about their problems, there tends to be quite a low uptake, and people that go to do it, they tend not to stick around for long because it doesn't feel great. It doesn't work well for men. But then they started a project in New Zealand called The Shed, where men would go and they would film things, and they would be paired up in small groups or whatever. And then they would talk about their problems while they built stuff. And it was crazy. Like, that's blown up as well exponentially. And I think it's good that those kind of things are starting to appear for men, because I know even when I was at my lowest point last year, I wouldn't have gone and sat in a circle with a bunch of other sad guys all talking about how sad we are. I couldn't have done that. So it's great that that is there and it's available. But yeah, there's still a long way to go with working out male depression, suicide, and everything else. But it's great that people are heading in the right direction on that front.
What helped you when you were vulnerable with last year?
My mum, whenever I go back to my parents' house, and what's how old I am, like I'm 30 now, I go back and she brings out the childhood parts of me that I forgot about, the parts that I pushed down, and I'm an adult now, I need to focus on that. And then I go home and I'm like, I remember the boy that I was, and getting in touch with that. I think having some serious downtime to just feel what I was feeling and check in, because I look back on that as a net positive. All of the things that I've learned from that period, the chance to feel the emotions and realize that I have capabilities. Whereas I like to think of myself as Superman, and I think I could work 12 hours a day, every day on top of the gym and everything else. Like, no, mate, check your ego. It's human. You push yourself to burnout there, so you need to learn to manage yourself better.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing, honestly, was just time and me having that time to myself. But it would be horrendous of me to not acknowledge the support that I have around me, in the sense of great friends and great family, to work through that. One shout out I will give to both is, when I say, I pull myself out of it, we have to manage ourselves. We can't just let our brain manage us and wake up one day like, I don't feel good today. My brain has told me I don't want to do anything, so I'm not going to do anything. The same as when you put your phone off the bedside table and move it away, you manage your dopamine, you manage your serotonin, you manage your oxytocin. And when you feel like shit, it's hard to want to face the world. And we want to just go get a load of dopamine by scrolling social media or playing games or watching Netflix or something while eating junk food. When you do that, you're just making the next day even harder, because you're spending all of those precious resources that your brain has built up on things that require no effort to achieve. And the next day you're starting from a lower point.
Yeah.
And so you need to start working on that. And I listen to a lot of podcasts on managing dopamine and things like that. And getting that in check, for example, not scrolling or doing anything that's too rewarding the night before, the 2 hours before I go to sleep, have chill time. You can watch a film, because that actually isn't too dopaminergic. You need to get into a film. You don't just start watching, but this is amazing most of the time, right? But Instagram or TikTok or whatever, the second you open it, it's like bam, just overloading the dopamine with no work involved to build more up. And I know that a big part of me reaching there was also doing that. I started retreating from the work into just high dopaminergic things that were just driving me even lower. So yeah, it's going to feel hard. It's going to suck, but you need to work on creating a healthy life for your brain if you want to pull yourself out of a time like that.
The right nutrition and
Nutrition, stop eating shit food. Like I know, and I did it. My mum was the most incredible baker, and I was eating 4 brownies, cookies, and cakes every day. But that was again just adding to it, right? I was spiking my dopamine, and then no wonder I didn't want to work. No wonder I didn't want to think about the problems that I had, because I could just go and distract myself with all this other nice stuff. So yeah, I would say that I was very lucky to have the support I had. And if I didn't have that, then I think I would need to put a group like this. So if accepting my straight white male privilege and also family privilege, I had a good support group, and I hope that anyone going through this has it as well. But if they don't, then these sort of things that you're talking about, like Bali Brotherhood, look to it somewhere. Don't try and do it by yourself, because you'll end up where I was, where you just burn yourself into the rock bottle.
for a very long time, it's very good for what you're saying. For a very long time, I thought I have to do everything on my own. And I very recently discovered, quite late actually, but it is what it is. I discovered that it's all about people. It's who you know, who you surround yourself with. And I think Bali is amazing for this. We just end up meeting incredible, helpful, genuine people. I was on the verge of actually moving to Dubai. And very last minute, I decided to move to Bali. And I'm so glad with my decision. But yeah, it's very often we think that you have to push yourself really hard, and you need to work really hard. And if you're having your own battles, you have to find a way out of them alone. It's always people. It's always a sense of community. Whether it's you feeling like not the best version of yourself, but you just want to surround yourself with good people, whether it's you're really pushing for your goals and striving to do well, surround yourself with these people. Find your tribe, find the community. Oh, I think that there's such a power in it.
100%. If you can remove yourself from your situation and look at it objectively, you've got someone over here who's nearing rock bottom, who's not taking good care of themselves, who is showing signs of depression and whatever else. And we need to get that person fit and healthy. Are you going to say to that person, no, you get yourself out, or are you going to send people to help that person, right? So we have to send those people for ourselves. We have to ask for that help, because rarely are there people there watching. But it's funny, you said something that earlier. You said, I'm basically a life coach. And I brought you on to talk about fitness and nutrition, and we've just gone completely into the life side of it. So I am fully seeing how that's a big part of it.
Right?
I like that.
I quite like it. I quite enjoy it.
I do want to cover one specific topic that I did bring you on to talk about, though, which was hormones and how that affects your fitness, your lifestyle, your routine. And I know that male and female hormone is very different, and what caused me to have that period last year is going to be very different to what your plans go through. So would you mind just giving me an overview on how you factor it in?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I actually sat down and did a full podcast with a really good friend of mine that I met here in Cali on hormones. And she's a hormone coach. So she kind of taught me a lot in terms of what to know and how to go about it with my clients. But essentially just certain habits. Obviously a lot of women nowadays go through hormonal disbalance without knowing it. Due to food and nutrition, most importantly, there's a lot of things that we do backwards. So a lot of women, for example, think that fasting is a really good diet option. I suppose fasting for women does the very opposite that I would do for men. So fasting for men is incredible. It agrees with your body, agrees with your hormones. It does the exact opposite for women. So for us, it's very important to have balance. It's important to have a balanced breakfast. And Also, another thing that we do a lot, and that was a habit that I had to stop, was drinking coffee. Coffee on an empty stomach, cortisol levels, it's an absolute no-go. It really messes up with the hormones. It causes a hormonal disbalance. Your body doesn't know what to do with the caffeine in the morning, especially when it's on an empty stomach. You basically, when you wake up in the morning, you have your cortisol levels up anyways. You drink coffee and cortisol level goes up even more. What that does is it creates a spike, and you're completely thrown off your body, and your body goes on like, what is going on? Why are you giving me this? When we do eat breakfast and when we make sure there's full, nicely balanced, full macros, protein, carbohydrates, fats, then that kind of gives you everything that your body needs. So if you think about it, you want to wake up and you want to feel energetic, right? And you reach for coffee to give you energy. Why not just have a sustainable meal? Why not have your eggs as protein, fats as avocado, for example, and whatever else, rice cake, as carbs? That will give you enough energy. And then what my clients are now noticing is that when you do eat balanced, sustainable breakfast, you don't actually need coffee. You wait a couple of, let's say, 30 to 40 minutes after you've had your breakfast, and that actually feel better. They feel more energetic. They can just get on with their day. So yeah, it's little things like that. Little changes. Knowing your body, understanding your body, working with it rather than against it.
Well, so caffeine is not energy. Caffeine,
Addiction.
it is addiction. But caffeine, it causes our body to be stimulated. So our body burns more energy. I said this on a podcast with someone else that I spoke to fairly recently. If you run a split test of two people that had exactly the same resting states of homeostasis and the same level of caloric maintenance, and they were doing exactly the same amount of exercise, and you gave one of them caffeine and one of them not, the one that had the caffeine would actually burn more fat during the day. Okay, so it's not giving you energy. It is stimulating your body to burn more energy from other sources. And as you say, if you use it first thing in the morning, then it is using the adenosine. Is it using the adenosine in the morning and then it's adrenal if it's after 90 minutes, or it's the other way around? I'm quoting something which I'm not smart enough to do properly. But basically, your body is firing on the wrong system if you wake up and you have caffeine within the first 90 minutes. And if you have it after 90 minutes, then it's healthier and you'll have less of a crash in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, you shouldn't be turning to stimulants as a sustainable way of giving yourself energy.
Do you drink alcohol nowadays?
Rarely. The last drink I had was the 4th of January, and I wasn't doing any driving. I just know because that's the last event that I went to. Very rare.
How are you finding it? Do you find the difference in how you are, how you're sleeping, how you're feeling overall?
I haven't been a big drinker since I was maybe 20 years old. I think it's been helped by a couple of factors. I'm useless on a hangover. I swear by the fact that different people react differently to alcohol, and some people get a lot more hungover than other people do. And I think I'm definitely in the victim part of that camp. Whenever I've had a couple of drinks, I know about it the next day. And now I know about it for the next week.
Mm.
And that's one thing that helps, is that I'm always fearing the hangover. And I used to finish at a party and we go back to a friend's house and they go to crack open another beer. And I'm immediately thinking, even after 4 or 5 beers, this beer is not worth how much worse I'm going to feel tomorrow to have it right now. So that's always helped. Also, I'm a massive lightweight.
Me too.
Yeah. My friends in the UK used to call me 2-pint Tommy, which just means that 2 pints is enough to get me drunk. And it is. So yeah, I think that has helped me never be good with it. And I think when you look at the people that tend to become alcoholics, they're probably and this is bro science, but I think there's going to be a big correlation into how their body reacted with alcohol in the first place versus the rates of addiction. For example, I'm betting that 99% of alcoholics didn't feel as hungover as I did the first few times they drank alcohol, because I wouldn't be able to push myself through that to get to that point. So yeah, I think that they naturally would have more of a tolerance to it, or and more of an ability to get through. But as we were saying earlier, how your body can adapt to fitness, your body can adapt to alcohol consumption, and you stop becoming hungover after a certain point.
Yeah.
Probably because you never become sober, but your body will learn to handle that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
It's a bit of a long-winded answer for the, the question, do I drink?
That's again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any things that I should wait to say?
Your sleep should improve. You feel a lot sharper. You're thinking, the way that you interact as well. You feel a lot more confident in yourself, in your ability. I mean, I do drink. I haven't stopped completely, but I have limited it massively. Especially having lived in the UK for so many years. The drinking culture didn't help. And I'm a massive lightweight as well. And university was fun for me because so but they used to call me Desi instead of Desi first. That was my nickname, similar to what you said. I find myself going into social events now where having completely removed that habit of going to the bar, reaching out for that drink, or going to the dance floor just instead of wanting to drink something because you don't feel confident. But then you become a little bit better with just being yourself. And not relying on alcohol to do that for you. And then wake up the next day and be like, oh gosh, what have I said? What have I done? And blame the alcohol for it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think it is, especially when it's fitness, it destroys your muscle reparation. So if you drink alcohol after a gym session, you're going to destroy the progress that you would have made because your body is going to spend more time trying to fight the alcohol out of your system than it is repairing or growing your muscles. It is going to damage your sleep. Who was it who was telling me this? I can't remember. Someone famous and incredible who was wearing a boot band. I've seen those on there, which measures your sleep efficacy. He had one glass of wine before bed. And the Whoop was like, what did you do the next day?
Your body doesn't sleep and recover. It's the same when you drink coffee. So I would say to stop drinking coffee 6 hours before you go to bed because it stays in your system 6 to 10 hours. So it's the same when you drink it. You have a drink when you go to bed, but you don't actually rest. Your body's not actually resting or recovering.
Stimulated. I take it further than that. I won't have it for 10 hours before I go to sleep. It's got a 9-hour half-life. Which means half of the caffeine is going to be out of your system after 9 hours. So you will be able to get to sleep. And for some people that were reliant on it, then 6 hours is a good starting point. If you can, make it 10 plus just to avoid it damaging your sleep. I love coffee so much.
I'm going to have coffee right now. 6 p.m. power.
I know, but I've had to learn that there's a specific window in which it benefits my life, and outside of that window, it's a hindrance on my life. So I don't have it within the first 90 minutes, and I don't have it within the last 10 hours, and that's the window in which I can have caffeine.
That's what I did when I first arrived at Bali. Was a lot of coffees, very little sleep, and I actually drove myself through complete burnout. I actually ended up being in hospital here.
Really?
And my whoop was signaling and saying to me, there's something's not right. It was like, whatever you're doing, please stop it.
There's a funny war story. A funny war story? I don't know why I've prefaced all that. That's a horrendous way to start this. There's a historical tale of the Nazis during World War II when they went to invade France. And they went on this insane push where they just didn't sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. They just carried on pushing into France. And the French were overrun. They were just like, what the hell? Surrender. You're done. And then it later comes out that the German army was prescribing them all crystal meth.
Wow.
So you had a load of methed up Nazis that were just able to go for 3 days and 3 nights. And of course, like, humans, we can't fight that long normally. They used it, so that was great. But then obviously there was a big burnout after that, and it's the same with stimulant. Caffeine is a far milder form of crystal meth. That's no science, by the way, but it's a stimulant. It fits into the same category, and it can power you through. If you've got 48 hours before you've got to get your dissertation in, that's going to affect the rest of your life. You know what? Maybe it's worth it on this front to just over caffeinate yourself and just go. But you will, you're gonna lead yourself to the point where you crash. And yeah, you are going to burn out after a while. And what happened? The Germans kept prescribing the army crystal meth because they're like, this is amazing. And then they burnt out. They stopped running through everyone. They started losing all their battles because you can't run on that forever.
Yeah.
And you build a dependency on it. So if you try and send them into war without crystal meth, all of a sudden they're not going to know what the hell they're doing. So it's the same with you and caffeine. You build up a tolerance and need it after a while. So
What other dependencies do you have
um,
if we remove coffee?
if we remove coffee, I think even just to focus on coffee, it is something that I build a dependency on, but then I will stop myself as soon as I reach that point. I go through entropy where I start off with 1 coffee a day and then I need 2 to get the same effect. And I end up with 4 or 5. And I'm like, okay, that I've got to stop. It takes 9 days for your body to reset its caffeine tolerance. So if you need 5 coffees a day to feel stimulated, go 9 days without any caffeine, then 1 coffee will do the trick again. So is something I wouldn't say is a dependency because I keep it on that cycle. And I'm currently in the stage where I'm going from 1 coffee to 2. Maybe in 2 or 3, I'll draw the line and reset it again. Aside from that, there's a place here that does Biscoff protein pancakes. And I think I'll send you a link. I'm pretty sure that I could call that dependency at this point. I think I've had 1 every day for the last.
Do they know your name?
They must do. I think I've keeping them in business, to be honest. They're outrageous. But apart from that,
a commission rate as well.
yeah. Use my discount code Pancake Addict 20 for some discount. I think apart from that, I'm pretty good in terms of stopping these things when we get there, because as someone who has a very addictive personality, and through years of becoming addicted to video games or drinking or smoking, I realized that it's happening and then stop it. And I think that knowing yourself and knowing how far you can push yourself before it becomes a big problem. I think that's important.
Balance again.
Yeah.
So bad with balance. Very, very bad. I feel like I can be very hard on myself with so many things, and I'm never happy with where I am or what I want to be. But yeah, finding that balance in little things, like knowing that you, like, for example, when I see feeling good for a very long time, not fixing that, not doing anything about it, thinking that I'm a superwoman. Yeah, balance is very, very important in everything that you do.
What are some common dependencies that you come across in your work?
Sugar,
Mm,
sweets, sugar, harsh.
That's one you kind of forget, right? Because it's just food and you just almost think that it's normal to be firing yourself up on that.
Yeah.
But that's probably where the protein pancakes are coming in, because I've cut all the other stuff out of my diet. That's the one way that I will allow myself to have a cheat. I'm not calling it a cheat because it's got the word protein in it. So it's basically good, which is
healthy.
Yeah, to be clear, that is not how it works. But yeah, it's definitely an excuse that I tell myself.
There's a protein ice cream here in Bali. It's pretty good.
Is it Mr. or Dr. something?
I'm terrible with names.
Yeah.
I need to dig it out and send it to you.
Fair. Yeah, we need to exchange protein snacks after that. 2 gym bros get together.
What is your training at the moment? What do you do training wise?
Bit too much, actually. I've been getting silly with it. So I train 5 or 6 times a week in the gym.
Which gym do you train?
Obsidian.
Okay.
Down the road.
How are you finding it?
Fizzy. But it's good. But then I also play paddle a couple of times a week, and then I've also been getting back into jiu-jitsu. And last Friday, I decided to do all 3 on one day. I did an hour and a half in the gym. I did an hour of jiu-jitsu and then 2 hours of paddle. And my joints still haven't recovered. So again, just need to wind my neck in and realize that I'm not Superman. And although I might have the energy and the desire and the fitness to want to do it, it does take a bit of a toll on your body if you do that. So I'm now having to rest from a couple of those to give my tennis elbow a chance to recover. So
don't overdo it.
no. The problem is when you enjoy it, right? It's interestingly, I heard someone say the other day that the reason we love exercise and we love fitness, it's not just about the endorphins that it releases, it's about escapism. And I see that with paddle, because when I'm on a paddle court, I don't think about anything else for 2 hours. All I'm thinking is hit the ball.
Is it not the same when you're at the gym?
No. In the gym, I have too much time for my thoughts to But I have found, I listen to podcasts in the gym. For most people, they rely on, heavy tempo music or something to fire them up. I try and combine the time that I work on myself physically with the time that I work on myself mentally. So that's the time that I use to listen to podcasts. And that helps me have to listen to my own voice, which is a lot less fun. But jiu-jitsu is the same. You try thinking about anything else when you've got a big sweaty man trying to strangle you.
Challenging.
That's going to be your focus, and you're going to forget what it's like to think about anything else when you do that. But yeah, I think that
Jiu-jitsu.
you love jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it twice in the Philippines. I absolutely love it. It's a very humbling experience, to say the least. But yeah.
Humbling is the best way to put it. I was thinking of creating a video for TikTok or Instagram of me going into the gym and finding someone a lot bigger than me and messing them up, and then finding someone a lot smaller than me who would mess me up, right? Because there's some 5'2" Indonesian guys in
Absolutely.
there that would make me their bitch. And I think that would make some funny content. Yeah, just to show people that size is obviously very valid and there's a reason we have weight classes, but skill and learning how to fight is very, very important.
Yeah. What is the goal with the gym in terms of where you want to take it? Is that physique thing you have in mind, or?
Yes. Yeah. Same as we started this episode with, it's just constantly trying to improve, which is an interesting point that you've raised. I did a shoot last time I was here in Bali. We went to the beach and I got down to 80% body fat to go and do this workout. We filmed it and great. And then I saw the woman who directed it, and she said, "Let's do another one." And I said, "Yeah, let's do it in March." I was like, "And I'll be in better shape then." And she was like, "What's better?" And when I said it, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, better is just means bigger and leaner to me, right? But then I was like, okay, is bigger and leaner always better? Or is there a point where you start to get diminishing returns? And I think there definitely is diminishing returns, because I look at people that are bigger and leaner than me and I think, Jesus, bro, relax. And I'm then pushing myself in that same direction. But I think the importance for me is just to keep feeling like I'm getting better, either strength-wise or aesthetically, or in terms of how I'm feeling. I think that's it. Just one foot in front of the other, better than you just did it.
Improving my 1% better.
Exactly. And for you?
I do. I'm working towards something at the moment. It's quite strict, and my training is 5 times a week at the moment. Strength training for an hour, 30 minutes, cardio, really bike, 12,000 steps every single day. And I do paddle now as well, once a week, twice a week. I do have a goal in mind, and it's supposed to be a new transformation for me. I'm kind of announced it on my socials. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I feel like, yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Awesome.
That's something to look forward to.
We'll have to go for a paddle game.
I'd love to. I'm very competitive. I turn it to one of my friends where I play paddle.
I played paddle yesterday with one of my friends who was pretty new to it. And she, in her own words, is not that great at it yet. I'm sure she could be. But we played against a couple that were both pretty good. And my partner, she was just a little bit timid to go for balls that were outside of her immediate area, right? So if it was a meter to the left, it was just gone. And I found that I was just doing whips backwards, forwards to just try and get the balls that she wasn't going for because of that competitive streak. And one of the guys on the other team, so I went for a ball, and for those of you that don't know, paddle has a big glass fence around it.
Yeah.
And I chased this ball from the other side of the court. And as I got there, my weight just continued, and I bounced off this glass wall, and it made a massive bang. And so people turned around and were looking. And then a guy came over from the place and was like, "Hey man, you're a big guy. Just be careful. Someone went through one of these the other week. You got 70 stitches. You don't want to do that." I was like, "Yeah, that was an accident. My bad." And I was like, "Chill out." 2 minutes later, there's another stretch ball, the exact same pane of glass. I go bouncing off it again. I was like, that guy is going to think I'm the biggest arsehole ever, because he's just come over and spoken to me. And 2 minutes later, going to have done the same thing. And the guy on the other team was like, "We're not paying for money, man." I was like, "No."
Okay, competitive shit.
Yeah, I need this.
You should win.
Desi, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love that it went completely off the rails in the best way.
I expected that.
Yeah, nice. I didn't. So it was a pleasant surprise for me. And I can tell that you're going to be great at what you do because you're such an easy person to open up to. And you clearly take a look at the deeper picture when you're working with people. So yeah, I feel like I've just been on your podcast. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see you in the other episode.
Yeah. If people want to keep up with what you're doing or they want to employ your life coaching, health coaching, where can they go?
Fitness coaching. They can find me on social media, Instagram, Desi Koleva, active Desi Koleva with a double V. How do you do this?
I'll put it in the show notes below. So anyone can find you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Awesome.